Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch. Today I'm going to take on one of the hottest potatoes, one of the most contentious topics in the whole of watch world, and I'm going to do that wrapped up neatly in the form of a review of the Seiko Sumo chronograph. I am of course referring to the eternal debate between quartz and mechanical. I cannot think of another topic that raises such vitriol from certain people as does quartz versus mechanical. For example, every time I review a quartz watch, somebody invariably leaves me a version of the same comment, that comment being, "Oh, I stopped watching as soon as you said the word quartz." Why? Why did you stop watching when I said the word quartz? What is the problem here? The best analogy I can come up with, this kind of pointless debate between two superseded technologies, is vinyl versus CDs. I'm sure people debate that one while the person who streams from the cloud is laughing at both of them. Likewise, the people who wear smartwatches are laughing at this whole quartz versus mechanical debate, I am sure. What tipped me onto this? Well, I picked up this Seiko Sumo chronograph recently for a ridiculously good price. Now, I bought a Seiko Sumo 3-hand mechanical with a 6-arm movement just before Christmas, spent a bit of time with it, and I reviewed it in March this year. So I have had hands-on direct reviewing experience with both of these watches over the first half of 2021. I can only think of two reasons why anybody would buy the mechanical after having handled the quartz. Let's flip the camera and I'll tell you what those reasons are. But before I get on to those two reasons, before I even get into this box today, can I have a minute to talk about my favourite subject? Money. Now I'm going to talk in AUD today. It'll make sense. I will pop up a couple of prices in US dollars and British pounds as we go. The Sumo, let's talk about the mechanical Sumo. First of all, the Aussie list price for that, if you buy it from Seiko Australia, one of their boutiques, is $1,300. Now that is not the price I paid. I paid $749 for it just before Christmas, and I thought I got a great deal. This chronograph, the SSC757J1, if you buy it from the Seiko boutique, is $1,100. So there's 200 Aussie dollars difference in price. Not a huge difference in price, 15-18% or so therefore. I didn't pay $1,100, I paid 429 Aussie dollars for it. You can see why I just couldn't pass this one up at that price. That is roughly 320 US dollars or 230 Great British pounds for a Sumo. Basically, I got a Sumo for samurai or turtle money, and let's be honest, you'd be pushing it to get a samurai or turtle for that money these days. I reckon this is one of the biggest bargains that I have bought over the last 4 years, and I have bought a ton of watches. So yeah, I admit, I'm going to be a little biased today. I'm going to be a little bit skewed because I got it at such a crash hot price. But if I can get a crash hot price, why can't you get a crash hot price? There is no reason if you shop around, do a bit of haggling, you can get one at a great price as well. I'm guessing I got it at that great price because of the stigma of quartz. People are inclined to pay far, far more for the autos, for the mechanicals, rather than these quartz. Anyway, it's a Sumo, and being a Sumo, it has a fairly whopping set of dimensions identical to the mechanical 3-hander that I reviewed a few months ago. Those being 45mm in diameter, 14.1mm thick, with a not inconsiderable 50.5mm lug tip to lug tip, 20mm lug width. There's a bit of taper here down to 18, just over 18, back up to 19.5 at the clasp. Now, sized up for me, generally quartz watches are a bit lighter than mechanicals. Not so in this case. This one is 174 grams. From memory, the 3-hander was 180. I'm guessing any weight saving that you get from the quartz movement as opposed to the more complex mechanical movement is offset by those extra chrono pushers. So, full 316L, case construction, case, crown, chrono pushers, bezel, and full 316L bracelet. We have solid links, solid end links. This one is Seiko's famous pin and collar system, which gave me a few headaches this afternoon, and it is Seiko's famous cheap pressed clasp. The clasp, you know, is comfortable, and you do get 4 levels of micro adjust, comfortably spanning the distance between those 2 links. You also get Seiko's diver's extension. It is a little bit flimsy, but There we are. I popped it eventually, but hey, better than nothing, and this is a proper diver's tool. This one, it is divers ISO certified with divers on the dial to match it. And because it's a Sumo, you get Sumo case finishing as well. Really very, very nice. Lovely brushed lug surfaces, high polished upper, you've got that brushed mid surface there, and drilled lugs transitioning back to polish for the undercase. Really, really sharp and definitely noticeably better than you get on a Samurai or a Turtle. And check that side profile as well. Really interesting bezel, this one. It's kind of cut into the case, meaning if you're going to operate it, you're really going to be gripping from the top and the bottom. 120 click unidirectional. Rotating dive time, as I said, divers 200 meters, so ISO certified means a couple of things come with that. Unidirectional dive time bezel with Lume pip is one of those, and hallelujah, everything lines up very nicely on this made in Japan Seiko model. So a chunky big watch for sure then, but Seiko have made a number of steps, a couple of design choices here to try and make it wear smaller than that big 45-50.5 dimension suggests, including quite a dramatic downturn from those lugs there. You probably didn't see that earlier on, and inverted mid links of the end link. I think that 20mm lug width also helps. 22, you know, probably would have been more appropriate for a 45mm diameter watch, but the fact that they went for 20 helps bring it down. Now, the polishing, I must say, is very nice on this bracelet. You have a brush to the upper surface, and you have two little high polish edges, making it look for all the world like a 3-link oyster style, but it's not. It is just a single link. They've even gone to the trouble of etching little divots there on the back side of it to make it look like a 3-link, but no, they're still just single links. So I'll pop a link to show you a very shiny screw down stainless steel case back there with the Seiko signature wave in the middle. Now, Prospex X, because this is part of their dive range, and as discussed several times, it is ISO certified, so it is a diver's watch with 200 meters of water resistance. Sapphire crystal, you don't get that on a Samurai or a Turtle for your $300 US, do you? But I guess behind here is one of the reasons, the first reason why someone would pick a mechanical over a quartz. It's a Seiko V192 movement, and it just doesn't quite have the romance, it doesn't have the history, it doesn't have the tradition, and it doesn't have the complexity of a mechanical movement. But it does have a cracking set of features that you do not get with a mechanical. It's solar for a start. When fully charged, this watch will tick in the dark for 6 months at a time, and that is a battery charge indicator. So E is less than 2 days. In the middle where I am now is somewhere between 2 and 100, and F for full is 100 days plus, so up to a maximum of about 180. Now it does have a low battery indicator. The second hand, which is the sub dial, the register there at the 9 o'clock, that will tick once every 2 seconds to let you know it's time to leave it on a window ledge, give it a bit of sunlight. We have a 12-24 hour indicator there at the register at 3 o'clock. And this one doubles up as the chrono timer and battery life indicator. So screw it down pushers here, obviously 200 meters of water resistance. When I press the top one, it will start the chrono timer. Now, 5 ticks per second, so you're measuring down to 1/5 of a second, though no tachymeter scale on this one. Always a bit of a compromise on some of these divers chronos. You get the dive time bezel, but you don't get a tachymeter scale on this particular model. Now, you can do laps here. If I press this one, it will stop. If I press this one again, it will continue. If I press the first button, A, to stop it, and then it is a slow reset. So, 6 months charge, chrono, 12-24 hour indicator, and a date complication there tucked in somewhere near the 4 o'clock. So let's get on to the second reason why you'd buy the mechanical and not the quartz. It's the dial and the handset, and indeed we are looking at the dial and handset of the mechanical and not the quartz. When I reviewed this one back in March, I was very, very complimentary about the way the 3-hand Sumo looked. I think the Sumo is one of the best looking Seiko dive watch dials that I've had the pleasure of owning and reviewing to this point. Just so purposeful, so clean, uncluttered, looks sharp all round. Oh dear. This one, by comparison, not exactly clean, not exactly uncluttered, is it? I guess there's more to do here. It does more, so they need to fit more on the dial with those 3 sub-registers. but I just don't like the way they've done it. They've kind of forced that date in there at the 420 or something, and they've had to chop off one of the circular indices to do it. They've truncated other ones, and it just doesn't quite have the same appeal as the three-hander. So yeah, the first reason why you'd be buying mechanical is because of the romance, the history and the complexity and that biomechanical relationship with an automatic movement. The second is because it just looks so much cleaner than this one does. I mean, it's not awful. The two dials are fairly similar in their layout. There's that split triangle up there at 12 o'clock, circular indices most of the way around, little truncated triangles at the 3, the 6 and the 9 to make way for those 3 sub-registers. Now the handset is a carryover and they are very nice indeed, well proportioned with a brushed finish on the top of them. The chrono hand, very simple needle hand with a long counterbalance. I don't even mind the little sub-dial hands, they're all pretty good as well, and the second hand at the 9 o'clock is actually loomed. I will show you that in the Lume video in just a minute or two, and it has that same kind of granular matte texture throughout. Seiko printed beneath the index at 12, the Prospex X beneath that, and Divers 200 meters as noted. Down in the bottom, just to the left of the 6 o'clock index, you can just about make out Japan because this is a Japanese model as discussed. But this shot really, the super close-up macro, is everything that's wrong with the dial in my opinion. The date just doesn't look right down there. They've tried to colour match it and I do appreciate that, but date at 420 just never works in my opinion, and the fact that they had to chop half of that circular index there, the 4 o'clock index, to do it, it's just all kinds of wrong, I'm afraid. And you can see some of those odd aesthetic choices manifesting themselves in the Lume video as well. Seiko's Lume Bright, so hey, the Lume is going to be really good, but yeah, you can tell that little 4 o'clock circle has been chopped, but you can see that the second hand, the back end of it, is loomed over there at the 9 o'clock. If I turn the speed up on the Lume video, no problems at all, right to the end of the 20 minutes. It's a serious dive watch, this one, and serious dive watches should have serious Lume. It is also a serious presence on wrist thanks to 45mm in diameter and 174 grams. Watches this big I tend to wear above the knuckle, and I tend to wear pretty tight because I don't want 175 grams floating around beneath the knuckle and bashing into the back of my wrist, that's for sure. And as with the mechanical three-hander, overhead legibility is excellent as well, thanks to those white hands and white indices against that matte black dial and matte black bezel. Outside natural light, again, you can't really go wrong with white on black for legibility. Not sure about the anti-reflective undercoating on the sapphire crystal, but for 429 Aussie dollars, I am not complaining. I got all the specs I could possibly want. On wrist, yeah, it's a chunky big thing, plenty of presence. I did say 7-inch wrist is probably, I would say, well, you don't want to go too much below that with one of these. The inverted mid-links and those downturn lugs do help, as you can see when I show it down the wrist, but you don't really want to be wearing this one if you've got a super small wrist, I don't think. There are plenty of other Seikos for your money that would suit you better than this one. So, moans and niggles then. Well, no anti-reflective undercoating, unsigned crown and cheap clasp. 1100 AUD, I would be complaining about those pretty hard, but for 429, I'm gonna forgive this one. Yeah, that chopped out index, very, very ugly date position there. I would rather they hadn't bothered, frankly, than chopped up that index and stuffed the date in there. Seems like a bit of an afterthought. And if I put a bit more really close-up macro here, you can see the photovoltaic cells underneath those 3 sub-registers. I've only looked at a couple of Seiko Solars to this point. I don't think they integrate those solar panels quite as well as Casio do and Citizen do for the money. You can see a bit of a purpley type hue, and you can just tell that that's where this watch is getting its solar charge from, not as neatly integrated as those other 2 Japanese brands. But overall, this is just a fantastic watch considering the price I paid for it. If you are in the market for a Seiko dive watch and you can find one of these on a discount, I think you would be bonkers not to at least consider it. This one absolutely smashes the equivalently priced Turtle, the equivalently priced Samurai in terms terms of build quality and in terms of specifications and in terms of its utility. Now, if you've got a big collection, if you've got a sprawling collection of autos, I think having a couple of Quartz in there is a great idea. Assuming you don't leave it longer than 6 months, this one is going to be ticking away waiting for you to pick it up, and you can't say that about an auto, can you? So there you have it. Well done for not switching off as soon as I said the word Quartz. If you're keen on this type of big chunky dive watch by Seiko, why not check out the review of the Mechanical Sumo from earlier this year and the King Turtle, a cracker at a similar price point to this one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.